Dear fellow Toastmasters and guests, it's my first educational session here at Toastmasters, and I chose a topic. I could choose out of 5 topics, and I chose the one which I think is very important, and it's about evaluation. How to do evaluation so that we motivate the speakers for their further growth. And I think this is one part, a crucial part of our Toastmasters mission. And I believe that many of you come here because you like evaluation. At least, do you like evaluation here at Toastmasters? Yes. Well, that's great, because I have the first question. What is the benefit for the evaluation, from the evaluation, for you, when you come here?
You learn something new.
Ways to improve, so some new things. I heard feedback, you know. Any other things? You mentioned something? What was that? So you meant feedback as well? Yeah. Anything else?
Constructive criticism.
Oh yes, this is part of improvement. Well, there are many things. What you actually mentioned are the benefits for the speaker. You should also think about benefits for the evaluator. Evaluator gets some benefits as well, because what they need to do is they need to practice active listening, they need to practice analytical thinking, and also, in a way, impromptu speaking. But let's focus on the speakers, because that's what we want to achieve here. We want to motivate the speakers. So the things that you mentioned are actually listed on my slide. Did you know my slide? Well, it starts with the feedback. What we want is to get instantaneous feedback. And we want to get the areas for improvement, because we want to get better. But, and you did not mention this, what we want to achieve is also we want to maintain and build our self-esteem and confidence. That's a very important part of the evaluation benefits. So let's start with the feedback. Feedback is about strengths and weaknesses. We often focus on the strengths. And who doesn't like to hear that they are doing something really well? Well, I guess everybody likes that. It has to be balanced with some areas for improvement. We call it areas for improvement. It's not the weaknesses. It's a nicer way to say the same thing. People need to be aware of things that they do, and they might not be realizing that they are doing something wrong. For example, I felt that my voice is quite strong, that you could hear me. Can you hear me there? Yeah, that's good. Well, sometimes it's not good. Yeah, I had feedback from Tony Ahmad, maybe you know the guy, a very good speaker. And he told me when we did the conference, Robert, I could hardly hear you. And he was sitting at the back of the big auditorium. I thought my voice was really strong. But he gave me the feedback that I realized that sometimes my strong voice is not strong enough. Sometimes I need to project it even much louder. You know? And we don't realize that if we are not told. Often we don't know. So without that feedback, we would not be able to progress. Good evaluator tells you what are your areas for improvement, but that's not enough. A good evaluator also tells you how to improve. They give you good examples. They show you. Those are really good evaluators. But the great evaluator encourages you to come here and practice that. Because through this practice, you develop the skills, and through the skills, you increase your self-confidence and self-esteem. So that's the main objective. Let's move on from the benefits. What I want to talk about is that at Toastmasters, there is a methodology. Yep, you wouldn't believe so, I guess. But there is the thing which we call tell and sell method. What it means is, guys, that the evaluator speaks and the speaker listens. At that time, the speaker should not speak. Well, because evaluation speech is a speech in itself, and we don't want to be interrupted, do we? At the same time, it helps us to do it in a more efficient way. It doesn't mean that I would be saying, hey guys, we don't want any discussion. No, that would be wrong. We want the discussion after the meeting. We want to clarify any issues. We want to get some questions and answers. That's fine, but not during the speech. It is quite important that these evaluations are done by people who have done the project already. So the new members, it's advised to try first with the speaking, and then as you go through the manual, you get to know what are the objectives, what needs to be done, then try to do evaluations. When does the evaluation start?
Before the meeting.
2 days before the meeting. Well, yeah. Tobin just showed us agenda, and it says evaluations are actually after the speeches, but evaluations should start much earlier. Definitely, it should start before the meeting, because what is happening there, and that's the first phase there, yeah, the before the meeting, because there are certain phases before the meeting, during the speech, and during the evaluation speech. So I will focus on these 3 separately. So before the speech, the good evaluator needs to know what are the objectives of the speech, of the project, and needs to get familiar with the detailed evaluation guidelines and even maybe details of the manual itself. And what is quite important, before the meeting, it's quite good to clarify what are any personal issues of the speaker. So let's go one by one. Objectives. Now, in your agenda, you can see that we have 3 speakers. Speaker number 2 has objective. Could you find out? Well, there should be project number 4, I believe. How to say, right? And there is a brief summary of this project. So there are things about how to use the proper words, how to use the right grammar, how to use the right sentences, how to create picturesque words with some images, and if they dare so, use some rhetorical devices. Now, this is the focus area for the speaker. This is what they've been working on, hopefully the whole week. Imagine that the evaluator would come here and say, well, you know, your voice projection was not good enough, or you just moved too much. The guy was working on how to say it. It's like you would come to the gym and you want to strengthen your arms, and the trainer tells you, hey, do the squat. So please, guys, make sure that you know what are the objectives and get familiar with the guidelines. Each project in the manual, and this is a typical example of the manual, has evaluation guideline, which is at the end of the project. There is a further set of questions which could give you more details how to understand these objectives. Sometimes this is not enough. Sometimes you really need to go through the 2-3 pages, sometimes 5, of the project, so you understand what is expected from the speaker. This is a good preparation that needs to be done before the speech. Concerns. Well, some of you come here because you know that you have some weakness that you really want to improve. I knew I was dancing too much. Well, I mean, there is not enough dancing. I love dancing, but sometimes it's not efficient. When I speak, I should not move too much. This is my personal concern. I want to work on that, and I think I have improved that slightly. If you don't know what are these concerns of the person, how can you help that person? Now, there are some improvement suggestions that we get from project to project. Maybe the person wants to work on that improvement area. If you don't know, you cannot help. And we come here to provide supportive environment and helpful environment. Now, during the speech, it is quite important that the evaluator listens carefully, analyzes and thinks about the things that he hears, and takes notes. By listening, I mean you show to the speaker that you care, that you're interested. Don't text or talk to your neighbor at that time. Keep an eye contact. And sometimes it's good to nod. Practice that. It's very helpful. Please make sure that you try to understand what the speaker is talking about. And what are his objectives? What he's trying to do with his words, with his performance here. What kind of goals he's meeting in his project. Put yourself in their shoes. And at the same time, you have to take notes. Take notes is very important because you need to answer some questions. Now, I typically use the guidelines. You can divide it into two halves and you can put some improvement points on this side and maybe some strengths on the other side. Choose whichever you like. It helps you then to do the speech. What I noticed that many speakers use this as a script for speech, and that's not the best way. I will tell you later how I think it should be structured. But you need to take the notes, because otherwise you have nothing to put in your speech. And these notes has to be quite detailed enough. At the same time, it should not be too much, and should be big enough. So when you come here, you can read them. During your evaluation speech, make sure that you select good words, that you evaluate the speech, not the speaker, and that you increase the self-confidence of the speaker. Good words, I mean, use diplomatic words. What is not good is to say, hey, the speaker should do that and should not have done that. It's like preaching, like a good structure starts with some observation. What I saw, what I heard. Nobody can say that you did not hear that. And then continue with some implication. What you saw and heard made you understand something, or made you feel something. If you have some improvement suggestion, then you continue. I would do it this way. Or even better, you could try to do it this way. If I say evaluate the speech, not the speaker, sometimes we may disagree with what the speaker says. That's not our point here. We are not here to discuss these issues. What we are here to do is to provide a supportive environment so that the speaker develops. So if Ivan is going to speak about in the project and he's working on the how to say it, then focus on the grammar, the words, and the structure. How? Well, we want to increase the self-esteem. That's the main issue. By providing good feedback. Evaluation speech should take from 2 to 3 minutes. Maximum 3.5. That means you cannot cover everything. That's why going through the whole guidelines will not work. What you need to do with the guidelines is select key points. 2 to 3 strong points. And 1 or 2 things for improvement. You should start with the strong points. We like to be praised. And that should take you about 2 minutes. Up to 2 minutes. And then recommend. Within 3 minutes, don't forget to leave some time for a wrap-up, for some conclusion. Summarize your findings. I've got some evaluation sheet template, which I found on the internet. It's really useful. I will send it around so you can just have a look. It has slightly different structure, but the main points are similar to this one. And I actually use it as well. This is for competitions as well. Now, I did a lot of evaluations, and I'm sure that you had experience where your evaluation did not work well. A typical example that I had was, I summarized a few good things. The speaker was smiling. Then I moved on to improvements. I was really thorough. I made the list, which was really long. And you could see that the speaker was already getting. And the best one was when I said in my conclusion, well, you did not meet the objectives of the project, you failed. You could almost see that the speaker was about to cry. Well, this is not the way how we want to do it, although I felt this was really a good way. What we want to get, yes, we want to be honest in our evaluations, yes, but at the same time, it should be updating and encouraging while offering these suggestions for improvement. So let's go back and see how it could go. Maybe better for the next time. How we should all try to do it. Well, not just try, but We will do it, hopefully, at least today. In your evaluation, focus on the good things and spend a lot of time on that one, majority of your time. But be specific. Don't just say, yeah, I think he met the project. Say what was really well done according to the project objectives. Then when you select a few things, focus on those things that you believe that the speaker has the power and the will to do, to work on. Sometimes you are not able to change some things. Make sure that you know which one are. And please, finish with a positive note. So that the speaker, after your speech, says, yes, I can, I will do it. Thank you.